My girlfriend fooled me for 2 years, faking love for my $200K salary. I heard her call me an ATM machine. But I recorded everything and exposed her in front of 60 people on our wedding day. What happened next left them speechless. I'm 31 years old. I work in corporate finance. And basically, I make good money. Like really good money. And for a long time, I thought that was a positive thing. You know, that I had worked hard and deserved the fruits of my labor. I never imagined that my money would become the only reason someone would pretend to love me for almost 2 full years. What I'm about to tell still hurts when I think about it, but I also need to get it out because the anger and the feeling of having been a complete idiot still eat me alive some days. I met Melissa on a dating app like 3 years ago, I think, or maybe 2.5, I don't know. Time blurs when you try to remember. She was 27 at the time. I was 29, and she seemed perfect. I mean, literally perfect. She was pretty, had that laugh that made you want to keep talking just to hear it again. And on our first dates, she seemed genuinely interested in who I was as a person, not in what I did for a living. We talked about movies, about music, about those random things you like when you're a kid, and never, not once in those first months, did she directly ask me how much I made or what kind of car I drove that made me let my guard down completely. For context, my life before Melissa was pretty simple. I studied finance in college, graduated with honors, got a job at a pretty big firm, and worked my way up. By 28, I was already a senior manager making close to $200,000 a year, plus bonuses. I bought an apartment in a nice area of the city, drove a BMW 5 Series, nothing over the top but definitely not cheap, and lived comfortably. I wasn't a millionaire or anything like that, but I was well positioned for my age. My parents always told me to be careful with women who only wanted my money, but I thought that was old people paranoia, that I would know how to identify someone like that. How wrong I was. The first months with Melissa were incredible. We'd go out to eat at normal places. Like not super expensive, but not McDonald's either, and she always offered to pay her share. I insisted on paying because that's how I was raised, but she'd protest in a cute way, like saying she didn't want me to think she was there for the money. Looking back, that was the most brilliant performance I've ever seen in my life. We'd spend weekends watching Netflix at my apartment. We'd cook together. We'd do normal couple things. She worked in marketing for a medium-sized company and made like $45,000 a year. Nothing spectacular, but enough to live on. She told me her parents were working people. Her dad was a school teacher and her mom had a small bakery, and I thought, perfect. She comes from a family with values. After a year together, things got serious. I was completely in love. Like I thought about her all the time. And I felt like I had found my person. I planned a marriage proposal at a vineyard outside the city, a beautiful place overlooking the mountains, and I spent like $15,000 on an engagement ring with a 2-carat diamond. When I got down on one knee and asked her if she wanted to marry me, she cried, said yes 1,000,000 times, and I felt like the luckiest man in the world. That night we had dinner at the vineyard's restaurant, drank expensive champagne, and she kept looking at the ring and saying how happy she was. Everything seemed perfect, absolutely perfect. But then, and this happened gradually over the following months, Melissa started to change. At first it was small things. She mentioned that her car, an old Honda Civic, was having problems and maybe she needed a new one. I offered to help her with the down payment and she accepted, but then when we went to look at cars, she only wanted to see luxury SUVs. We ended up buying her a used but well-maintained Audi Q5, like $35,000, and I put down $25,000 for the down payment. She told me she'd pay me back eventually, but she never did, and I didn't push her because I thought, we're going to get married anyway, what does it matter? Then it was her wardrobe. She started complaining that she needed nicer clothes for my work events, that she couldn't show up dressed just any way because I was a senior manager and people expected a certain level. To that made sense to me, honestly. So I gave her my credit card to buy some things. She spent $8,000 in one weekend. When I saw the statement, I almost had a heart attack. But she convinced me that she needed that designer dress for my company's gala dinner and those shoes for some other event. I swallowed hard and accepted it. Then she wanted to move from her small apartment to mine. Obviously, I agreed, because we were going to get married soon anyway. But when she moved in, suddenly my apartment wasn't big enough for both of us. We needed more space, a more modern kitchen, a second bathroom, blah, blah, blah. She started looking at houses and showing me properties for $800,000, $1 million, saying it was an investment for our future, for when we had kids. I told her we needed to wait, save more, but she insisted and insisted. We never did buy the house, but the constant pressure was driving me crazy. And the wedding. Oh my God, the wedding. Melissa wanted everything as expensive as possible. She found a super luxurious venue that cost $50,000 just for the space, not counting food or drinks. She wanted a designer dress for $10,000, a famous photographer who charged $15,000, exotic flowers that cost a fortune, and a 3-week honeymoon in the Maldives and Dubai that was going to run like $40,000 easily. I tried to reason with her, told her we could do something more modest, more intimate, but she'd cry and say this was the most important day of her life, and that I didn't love her if I wasn't willing to give her the wedding of her dreams. She made me feel guilty all the time, like I was a terrible cheapskate for not wanting to spend $150,000 on a single day. My best friend Steven had been telling me for months that something didn't add up. He told me that Melissa had changed a lot since we got engaged, that she seemed more interested in my wallet than in me. I defended her, told him he was being paranoid, that she really loved me and that weddings were just expensive, that all women wanted something special. Steven would look at me with that face like, "Bro, wake up," but I didn't want to listen to him. I was completely blinded. Everything changed on a Tuesday afternoon. I had left work early because I had a horrible headache and decided to come home to rest. Melissa didn't know I was coming home early. She thought I was going to be at the office until 7 or 8, like always. When I opened the door to my apartment, I heard her voice from the balcony. She was talking on the phone, laughing loudly, and something in her tone made me stop. I don't know why, but instead of announcing that I had arrived, I stayed quiet and listened. And what I heard basically destroyed me. Melissa was talking to one of her friends, I think Tiffany, and she was saying, "You can't believe it. I found the perfect idiot, literally the biggest fool in the world." I told him the wedding dress had to be designer, and the idiot said yes. I told him we needed a bigger house, and he's looking at options. It's like having an ATM that also fucks you. Literally couldn't have planned this better. My friend asked her something I couldn't quite hear, and Melissa responded, "Of course I don't love him. Are you crazy? He's boring. His friends are boring. His job is boring. But he has money, and that's all that matters. I'm going to marry him, get everything I can out of him, and in a few years, I'll divorce him and keep half his stuff. It's the perfect plan." I stood there in my own living room, with my briefcase still in my hand, feeling like someone had hit me in the stomach with a baseball bat. I couldn't breathe well. Literally felt like I was going to pass out. All those things Steven had told me started echoing in my head. All the moments when Melissa had been too insistent about money, too focused on material things. I had been a complete idiot, a moron who had believed every word of a perfectly constructed lie. I had the presence of mind to take out my phone and start recording. My hand was shaking, but I managed to capture like 2 minutes of the conversation, where she kept laughing and saying horrible things about me. She said that sex with me was mediocre but worth it for the lifestyle, that my friends were losers and she couldn't wait to get rid of all of them after the wedding, that I was so pathetic that I basically begged for her attention. Every word was like a knife. When she said, "I swear sometimes I have to hold myself back from laughing in his face when he tells me he loves me," I almost dropped the phone. Melissa ended the call and walked into the living room and saw me standing there. She was surprised and asked me, "Baby, what are you doing here so early?" I didn't say anything, just looked at her, and she must have seen something in my face because her expression changed. She asked me if I was okay, if something was wrong, and I just said, "I need you to leave." She laughed nervously and said, "What? What are you talking about?" And I repeated, "I need you to take your things and leave my apartment right now." I didn't tell her I had heard the conversation. I didn't show her the video. I just told her the relationship was over and that she needed to leave. She started crying, asking me what she had done wrong, telling me she loved me, and I felt nauseous listening to her. Every tear was a performance. Every word of love was a calculated lie. I gave her an hour to pack her main things and told her she could come back for the rest later with supervision. She tried to hug me, touch me, and I pulled away like she was burning. She begged me to explain what was happening, but I couldn't even speak without wanting to scream, so I just repeated, "You have 1 hour." When she left, I called Stephen. I told him everything, showed him the video, and he was quiet for a long moment before saying, "Man, I'm so sorry, but I told you. I warned you." It didn't make me feel better that he had been right. Honestly, it just made me feel more stupid. Stephen came to my apartment that night, and we stayed up until 4 in the morning while I processed everything. I was devastated, furious, betrayed, all at the same time. I had planned to spend the rest of my life with this woman. I had imagined having children with her, growing old together, and it had all been a lie. The next few days were hell. Melissa called and texted me constantly, telling me she had made a mistake, that we needed to talk, that she loved me. I blocked her number. Then she started contacting me from different numbers, from her friends' phones, from her work. I told my assistant at the office not to put through any calls from her. She showed up at my work twice, and security had to escort her out. It was like a nightmare that wouldn't end. But I had a plan. We had planned an engagement barbecue for the following month, like a big party with our families and friends to celebrate the engagement before the wedding. We had sent out invitations, rented a space at a park with a grill area, the whole event. I decided I wasn't going to cancel it. I told Melissa, through a message from Steven's number, because she had mine blocked, that if she wanted to talk to me and fix things, to come to the barbecue. She responded immediately, yes, that she'd be there, that she loved me and we were going to work everything out. The day of the barbecue arrived and there were like 60 people there. My family, my friends, Melissa's parents, a guy named Richard, who was a middle school teacher, and his wife Patricia, who had a small bakery. Super normal working people, her friends including Tiffany, everyone gathered supposedly to celebrate our love. I had brought a small sound system, like one of those portable but powerful speakers, with the excuse of playing music for ambiance. Melissa arrived, looking beautiful, in an expensive summer dress that she had probably bought with my money, and she hugged me tight, saying she had missed me so much that we needed to talk. I told her, "We're going to talk, don't worry." I waited until everyone was there, until the food was ready and people were relaxed with their beers and their plates. Then I stood on a table so everyone could see me and asked for attention. Everyone thought I was going to make a toast or a nice speech about Melissa and our future. Melissa was looking at me with that fake smile, like performing for the audience. I said, "I want to thank you all for coming today. It means a lot to me to have you here because you're going to witness something important. I want you to know who Melissa really is." And then I connected my phone to the speaker and hit play on the audio I had recorded. Melissa's voice filled the park. You can't believe it. I found the perfect idiot, literally the biggest fool in the world. Absolute silence. People stopped chewing, drinking. Everyone froze. The audio continued. It's like having an ATM that also fucks you. Literally couldn't have planned this better. I saw Melissa's face turn white, completely white, like all the blood had disappeared from her body. She tried to run toward me to make me turn off the audio, but Stephen stopped her. The audio kept going. Of course, I don't love him. He's boring, but he has money, and that's all that matters. When the audio ended, the silence was deafening. Nobody moved. Then Melissa's mom started crying, not from sadness, but from shame and rage. Her dad looked like he wanted to disappear. Melissa's friends looked at her with disgust. I got down from the table and walked toward Melissa, who was crying, but these were real tears of panic, not her usual performance. I took the engagement ring off her finger because she was still wearing it like nothing had happened, and I told her in front of everyone, never, never contact me again. Her parents took her from the park, practically dragging her. I heard her dad telling her, "How could you do this? We raised you better than this." My family and friends were in shock, but eventually Stephen raised his beer and said, "Let's toast to Brandon being saved from the worst decision of his life," and everyone toasted. It was surreal. like I had planned this day as a celebration, and it ended up being a public execution of a lie. The following days were intense. Melissa's parents contacted me to apologize, saying they had no idea, that they were embarrassed, that they had kicked Melissa out of their house because they couldn't believe their daughter was capable of something like that. Patricia, her mom, cried on the phone telling me they had tried to raise a good person and didn't understand what had gone wrong. I told her it wasn't their fault, that I appreciated their apology, but needed space. Tiffany, the friend Melissa had been talking to on the phone, sent me a really long message saying she didn't know things were that serious, that she thought Melissa was joking when she said those things, and that she had ended her friendship with her. I don't know if I completely believed her, but at least she acknowledged that Melissa had acted horribly. Melissa tried to contact me for weeks. She sent me letters to my apartment, showed up at places where she knew I'd be, even went to the office again begging me to talk. She said she had made a mistake, that she really loved me, that she had been confused and her friends had influenced her badly. It was pathetic. I had seen her true face, had heard her true words, and there was no going back from that. I had my lawyer send her a formal letter saying that if she kept harassing me, I was going to request a restraining order. And that finally stopped her. Like 2 months later, a guy named Marcus contacted me through LinkedIn. Turns out Melissa had started dating him, another finance guy who made good money, and he had done some research and found my name linked to her on old social media. He asked me directly if there was any reason he should stay away from her. I told him the whole story, sent him the audio, and he thanked me and broke up with her immediately. Apparently, she had asked him to buy her a new car after only 3 weeks of dating, and that had raised red flags. Melissa burned all her bridges. Her friends abandoned her when word spread about what she had done. Her parents basically disowned her. Even her job found out about the situation because her boss was friends with one of my colleagues and the thing leaked. Eventually, I learned she had moved to another city, like 5 hours from here, to start over where nobody knew her. Part of me felt some pity, like it's hard to lose everything. But then I'd remember her words about me and the pity would evaporate. I spent several months in therapy after all this. I needed to process the fact that I had been living a lie for almost 2 years, that the person I thought I loved never really existed. My therapist helped me understand that it wasn't my fault, that professional manipulators are very good at what they do, that there were no obvious signs I could have detected before because she was careful. That helped, but I still felt stupid. Steven helped me start dating again, like casually without commitment, just to remind me that not all women were like Melissa. It was hard to trust again. Honestly, it still is. Every time I go out with someone new, I wonder if they're interested in me or in my bank account. If every smile is genuine or calculated. It's exhausting and sad, but I'm working on it. The money thing became an issue. I had to cancel credit cards where Melissa was an authorized user. Change passwords. For everything. Basically make sure she didn't have access to anything of mine. The car I had helped her buy was technically in her name because I had only given the down payment, so I couldn't recover that money. It's like $25,000. I basically gave to someone who saw me as an ATM. It hurts to think about it. Last week, I saw that Melissa had created a new Instagram profile, like trying to reinvent her image in her new city. She had photos with new people, smiling like nothing had happened, like she hadn't destroyed a complete relationship based on lies. Steven told me to stop stalking her, that it wasn't good for me, and he's right. I blocked her new profile and decided I needed to close that chapter completely. Now I'm 31, still at the same job, still making good money, but I'm much more careful. When I meet someone new, I don't mention exactly what I do until I know them better. I see how they react when they think I'm just a normal guy with a normal job. It's sad to have to lie or hide things about your life. But Melissa taught me that there are people out there who only see others as resources to exploit, and I'm not going to be a victim of that again. My parents told me they're proud of how I handled the situation, that it would have been easy to just disappear quietly, but that exposing Melissa publicly was brave. I don't know if it was brave or just rage, but it worked. She can't do the same thing to another guy as easily now because her reputation is destroyed, at least in this city. But the hardest part wasn't losing Melissa, because once I knew who she really was, I didn't want her back. But the hardest part was losing the idea of her, losing the future I had imagined, the family I thought we were going to build. That still hurts. Sometimes I wake up and for a second I forget what happened, and then it all comes back like a wave and I feel bad again. But I'm better than I was 6 months ago, and I hope to be even better in another 6. Steven says I'm going to find someone genuine eventually, someone who loves me for who I am, and not for my bank balance. I want to believe him. For now, I'm focusing on myself, on my work, on my real friends, on rebuilding the trust that Melissa destroyed. It's a slow process, but I'm making progress. And honestly, I'd rather be alone and healthy than be in a relationship and being used. That lesson cost me almost 2 years of my life and several $1,000s, but at least I learned it before I married her. That's something, I suppose.